Just when I thought I couldn't find my way out, yeah, I searched the God in me to find my way out. I know it can seem way out, but the Creator flows to and through me from way out. I'm talking way out, yeah. See, if you believe in the God in you, it's a better place. Creating the force and the power to live a better life. Just know that love and joy and peace is one in all of the same space. That you were chosen just like God. Your energy. That's right. Only you can make the change. Shine your head at you. Shine so bright from darkness to light. From darkness to light. Yeah. And you'll find your way out. Oh, it won't seem way out. The power of God will flow through you from way out.
Man, you guys, I have been watching this ABBA and Sneako interview, and I wanted to talk about it. If anyone wants to come up and give their opinion about it, it's kind of weird. I don't even know what to make of it. It's what, So I wanted to if you want to come up and talk about this crazy behind conversation, what? The whole thing is weird, so strange. So I will play it real quick, and we're gonna go into it. Let's go. ABBA and Sneako have a conversation. Let's go. We're gonna start.
I think in the content creation sphere, I think we see a lot of what you're talking about. Okay, well, Bill Gates is probably a bad example after the Epstein files. But Melinda Gates is not exactly a smoke show, okay? And they were made for a long time. And that is actually generally the norm for a lot of wealthy people. They don't necessarily do the Jeff Bezos route all the time.
Right, but look what happened to Bill Gates. So
I mean, yeah.
Did he give her an STD allegedly? In my opinion, because he was sleeping with so many girls. That's.
I mean, that's at least my concern. It sounds like this dude might have been with some young folks. But we'll get to that. We'll get back to the video for now. All right.
Mansion full of snow bunnies. And look, I understand my audience. It's mostly young dudes looking for some guidance. I didn't really fully comprehend this until I did a show in Germany last month. I didn't even know that I had people in Germany watching my videos, but I did a comedy show and a bunch of people showed up. And after the show, we're standing outside the bar, 15.
Oh, he's a comedian? Wait, Sneako is a comedian? He did a comedy show? What? So he's been a comedian this whole time.
Of us standing in a huddle. Germans are tall as hell, so we look like a football team, in a huddle. And I'm giving them advice. They're asking me about, how do I find my passion? How do I get over depression, anxiety? I'm saying, whatever. I don't know the answer. I don't have the answer. And it dawns on me as they're hanging on to every word I'm saying that I could start a cult right now. If I wanted to start a religion where everybody does whatever, I could be Jesus. That's a scary thought to cross your mind. I'm not ready for that power. But so many young men are looking for some guidance and some advice that they don't get from their parents, from their teachers. A lot of men are confused and scared, just like me. Men have this lonely internal struggle.
Doesn't it? It sounds like I'm describing right here. I think I'm 21, describing the need and what's necessary for the Red Pill movement to arise this year and the next year, 2022. That's when Red Pill really dominated the internet. Right here, I'm saying they're lying about COVID. There's an absence of some masculine leadership in the internet space because things are getting so feminized. Cancel culture was at its peak.
And he thinks he's that guy. What?
That was coming off the Me Too movement. Men were being shamed all the time. It seemed like being naturally masculine was a horrible thing. And so right here, I'm like, okay, something is needed.
Sure. I think I share your sentiment that a lot of young men were lost. I mean, even I'm older than you, so I didn't have that same experience with the Red Pill. I had the experience with the movement that came before the Red Pill, which would have been the pickup artist bodybuilding world. That was what I knew. But I think I share the sentiment with you that men felt lost. I think the reasons we might disagree, but I get where you're coming from, and I think I understand what you're talking about when you're talking about this video at the time.
That's not really taken seriously. For women, it's body image issues, and we care about that. Look, we have fat mannequins now. We didn't have that 5 years ago. We got fat mannequins. We don't want girls making themselves throw up and starving themselves, so we made plus-size models. But think, when's the last time you saw a male plus-size model? Think of one. Don't Google it. Think of one. It's fucked up how when you're learning how to mature as a man, they'll throw phrases at you like your toxic masculinity, patriarchy, and you're like, isn't this just what you wanted? No one paid attention to me before, and now that I'm mature, I'm oppressing you? Men kill themselves 5 times more than women. 80% of homicide victims are men. We will die trying to prove ourselves. It's weird and sad. Like, I'm in my 20s and I think about slapping people for respect on a daily basis. That's insecurity. I'm deeply afraid of somebody calling me a pussy. This is why white boys shoot up schools. It's why
he's deeply afraid of someone calling him up. This is dangerous.
black boys join gangs. It's why Asian boys study extra hard all night. It just used to be more simple to become a man. You could work at a factory, come home from work, honey, I'm home, beat your wife, and fall asleep.
I gotta see somewhere in the middle. He didn't study or he didn't join the gang. What is he? He said I think he's like part Asian.
You're a man. That was life.
What's going on? Back then, I was talking about so much of the stuff I talk about to this day. So when people say they miss the old Sneako, it's like, take some time to look at my content, my message. It's the same exact content. And I ate into the chat saying, where does this guy stream? Does he have viewers? I've been preaching that you guys mostly post videos, but you guys have been streaming a lot, pulling a lot. I see you guys like average like 5 to 7K or something like that. And that's a side note. But I would say that, yeah, that this was all just about seeking truth through funny. And what was really important about this video and why people resonated with it, I think that has 5 million views or something. You know, it's just a webcam video, original YouTube type content, talking to the photo booth and, you know, slight editing. What I touch on here is the hyper socialization that we have now from social media, how hyper self-aware we are from the camera, from the phone, from creating the Sims character, as I said here, curating an image of who we want to be through Instagram photos and captions rather than who we are. We were the most self-conscious generation of all time and people of all time as a product of the internet and as a product of cameras. And I just realized how inauthentic we became. And so I always wanted my platform to prioritize authenticity in a world now where it's so hard to find that.
What do you feel like that version of Sneako was missing in life? What was he looking for? I know you said you were seeking truth through funny, but I'm asking as an individual.
Why is like Abba is like being like a psychiatrist to Sneako? It's great to me. Like the older Patuan, like telling the younger guy how to what's your real problem? Like, tell me what happened in your youth.
Individual, or maybe as an artist, whatever you want to choose. What do you feel like you were searching out for out there when you were making content?
I was searching for truth.
Okay, keep going. If you can.
Yeah, I was looking for. I just saw so many inconsistencies, hypocrisies. I didn't know where I fit into the world. I grew up extremely mixed race. I still am mixed race, but back then, when I was growing up, most people saw me as Asian. And then as I got older, I looked more light skinned. And I grew up, you know, I was born in New York City. I grew up mostly in New Haven, Connecticut. You know, that's I grew up, it's a dangerous area. They call it gun wave in New Haven. You know, I grew up in a city with a lot of crime, but I went to a predominantly white WASP school on scholarship. So I grew up around like a lot of rich people with families that worked at Yale University, but we didn't have money. You know, grew up in the 2008 housing crisis. And I was just always kind of just trying to figure out where I fit in. So I've always felt like an outsider. I've always been an outsider. You know, I've never really had a sense of belonging ethnically. I've never been around people and be like, oh, these are my people. Every group, I'm an outsider to some extent.
Gotcha.
You know, are you Ethiopian?
Yeah, so I was born in Canada, but I was raised a lot of my young years in Ethiopia. So kind of like a bit of a mixture of those two.
One of my biggest insecurities.
You know.
Oh, this is a good one too. You know, ball. This is one of my favorites as well.
Yeah, I actually kind of wanted to get into that because this was around early 2022, and this video came out around before. Actually, we might have met just before this point. But I want to just play this video as we transition to the second part. I'm going to just actually keep it like that in theater mode. And this time, for the folks watching at home, I'll make sure you're able to see. Here you go.
One of my biggest insecurities is that I've never knocked anybody out. I've never been knocked out either, ever. I've never woken up with my face on the pavement, circle of people around you laughing. I've been in little fights, but nobody got hurt. So.
Question, at this point, how old are you?
I had just moved to Harlem. This was March 1st, 2020. So I dropped out a year before. And then I finally started making.
Have you been knocked out since?
Enough money from YouTube to move out of the college dorm, and I moved into Harlem. Got a studio apartment on 141st Street. This is Adam Clayton. This is the fucking projects. Yeah. And it was 2 weeks before the pandemic. So I'm like, finally, I get to have an apartment in Manhattan, which is like, anybody grew up in the Northeast, like this is like pinnacle. This is achievement right here. Like getting your own spot in Manhattan. And then 2 weeks later, pandemic. So it was March 1st, 2020. I was born in 98. I was this 21 years old?
Yeah, and you hadn't started live streaming by this point, right?
No.
Yeah.
I was still just strictly making videos.
Okay. All right. We'll keep playing.
So I'm gay. I don't know how to be a real man.
His face. He says a lot of stupid shit. Bro. I'm gay. I don't know how to be a real man. Look at his face. Like, oh, he didn't play that. Oh Lord, oh God.
It's not all my fault though. Everyone has their own definitions of what it means to be a real man, and we all fall for it trying to prove ourselves. So many men are confused and scared, but they don't know how to express emotion, so they
So you think he's really? I think he said he's gay, right? So that means he really probably is. I don't think any man that's not gay would say I'm gay. It's weird. They all hang out with each other. Him, Myron, Nick Fuentes, all of like the little rainbow pill assholes.
overcompensate by being.
I'm gonna start a new thing called the rainbow pill. That's gay dudes talk about like women and they really don't even like them. It's called the rainbow pill, y'all. We're gonna call it the rainbow pill.
Loud and homophobic. The fuck are you pointing at, you fag? I tried the whole friendly ally feminist thing and it didn't work. When I was younger, I looked full Asian, so I also had to fight the small dick stereotype. Girls ignored me, men didn't respect me. I was this angry internet dude for a long time. I was reading the red pill and all.
He should have just wore some like little gray sweatpants, like and just let it free ball. Just wear them. Wear some gray sweatpants and let it free ball. They wouldn't have said that to you after that. Just let it hang.
Online advice forum for men, you can't really stoop lower than that. When my sister would bring home her boyfriend, I'd start puffing my chest out, doing push-ups in the kitchen. When I finally got a girlfriend, I'd start eyeing down dudes, looking at her. What are you looking at my girl, bro? You looking at my girl? I was that guy. I was that guy for like a really long time. And I still find flakes of that person because now when I talk about women, everybody in the comments calling me toxic.
I think so.
Right, so don't you use that to your advantage? Like, you've never used the fuckboy with the heart of gold thing? Like, okay, I'm a fuckboy, but like, oh, you make me understand that, like, oh, women aren't objects. Like, I use that all the time.
Because you're toxic.
I'm like, man, I just be fucking these bitches. It's you. There's something special about you. No, I don't know, man. I'm not going to apologize.
You relate, Alva?
I'm just
What?
You look like you related to that a little bit.
Nah, I just think that character is funny to me. I think that character is funny.
But there's a reason we have gender roles. Hold up, before men like big boobies and booty. Those big infected looking plastic lips were simple. Yes, obviously once you get to know someone, you figure out their personality and their star sign, but initial attraction is all physical. For women, initial attraction is all about demeanor, your confidence, the way you carry yourself, your swag. They can sense the fakers. They want a respected man. Trust me, they can see the fakers. A lot of women are delusional. They think they want that feminist ally dude who listens to them and is always nice and agrees with all their beliefs and shit. You know the guy whose profile picture is that overly excited, this face? This is why you see old ass, ugly rich dudes with smoking hot wives in their 20s. You won't see one sexy dude with an ugly wife. Don't look it up on your phone. Think of one. Think of one sexy dude with an ugly wife. But
Is it? Wait, hold on. Is it normal for a dude to talk about another guy and call him sexy? Is that normal? Like, does he like be like, oh yeah, that dude is sexy? He probably has a wife. Like, why would that even be a conversation of whether the dude's sexy or not? Like, that's weird. I didn't see any sexy dudes with no wife. I mean, sexy to who? To you? Like, that's weird, bro. Like, I ain't never met no dude that call another dude sexy, bro. What is going on? Is he like coming out the closet, bro? Like, what?
you know about Jay-Z and Beyonce. You know about Jeff Bezos and whatever that, Hugh Hefner and his.
Okay, I don't mean to pause, but do you still think that's true?
That ugly guys can get with beautiful women, but you don't see the reverse?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely. At least I know a lot of rich dudes whose wives aren't necessarily like what you would expect for like a hot, attractive woman or whatever. It's actually pretty.
Well, you ever seen that metric where it says ultra billionaires like Jeff Bezos, they get like the fake tit, that's their wife. Multi-millionaires get the beautiful model wife. Thousandaires get, yeah, they have the propensity to get to that, but there's definitely an archetype that fits in there. And the overall point is that beautiful women can get with ugly men, but top tier men oftentimes aren't going to get with an ugly woman the same way.
Yeah, I know the stereotype. I think there's a bit of like a confirmation bias there because like you'll see an example that agrees with you and you're like, see, it must be true. But then if I line up 10 billionaires with wives you are thinking are not that attractive or whatever, or not younger, they don't fucking flip on them, then you'll go like, yeah, but generally speaking. But I digress. This is something, at least now that I've
right, like, okay, they make generalizations. There's no real evidence that says like a rich guy is gonna want this type of wife. They make up these weird stories. These guys are they don't even like women. They don't like women. They're making up bull stuff. They really want to f each other. You know what I'm saying? Not ABBA, but I'm just saying this guy Sneako guy. I'm like, you don't even like women. You're totally gay.
Lived a little bit longer, been around more rich people, and my experience is actually more often than not just normal looking people with normal looking people. But I think in the content creation sphere, I think we see a lot of what you're talking about. Like, okay, well, Bill Gates is probably a bad example after the Epstein files.
Yeah.
But Melinda Gates is not exactly a smoke show, okay? And they were married for a long time, and that is actually generally the norm for a lot of wealthy people. They don't necessarily do the Jeff Bezos route all the time.
Right, but look what happened to Bill Gates. So
I mean, yeah. I mean,
did he get her an STD allegedly, in my opinion, because he was sleeping with so many girls? And like that's.
I mean, that's at least my concerns. It sounds like this dude might have, been with some young folks.
Listen, look what happened to Bill Gates. See how they automatically take Bill Gates' side? But Bill Gates gave his wife an STD. So, what are you talking about, sir? That's crazy. It's like they take Bill. Look what happened to Bill Gates, though. Because she's ugly, so look what happened to him. Like, that's crazy.
But we'll get to that. We'll get back to the video for now. All right.
Mansion full of snow bunnies. And look, I understand my audience. It's mostly young dudes looking for some guidance. I didn't really fully comprehend this until I did a show in Germany last month. I didn't even know that I had people in Germany watching my videos, but I did a comedy show and a bunch of people showed up. And after the show, we're standing outside the bar, like 15 of us standing in a huddle. Germans are tall as hell, so we look like a football team, like in a huddle. And I'm giving them advice. They're asking me about, how do I find my passion? How do I get over depression, anxiety? I'm saying, whatever. I don't know the answer. I don't have the answer. And it dawned on me as they're hanging on to every word I'm saying that I could start a cult right now. If I wanted to start a religion where everybody does whatever, I could be Jesus. That's a scary thought to cross your mind. I'm not ready for that power. But so many young men are looking for some guidance and some advice that they don't get from their parents, from their teachers. A lot of men are confused and scared, just like me. Men have this lonely internal struggle.
Doesn't it sounds like I'm describing right here. I think I'm 21, describing the need and what's necessary for the Red Pill movement to arise this year and the next year, 2022. That's when Red Pill really dominated the internet. Right here, I'm saying, like, they're lying about COVID. There's an absence of, some masculine leadership in the internet space because things are getting so feminized. Cancel culture was at its peak. That was coming off the Me Too movement. Men were being shamed all the time. It seemed like being naturally masculine was a horrible thing. And so right here, I'm like,
man, listen, because you're feminine. But here's the thing: all these guys always talk about women are being masculine. I don't believe that women can be masculine. I think they could be a stronger woman or a more, like, aggressive woman. But a woman being masculine, that's really that's like some gay ass shit. Like, if you look at a woman and say, "Oh, that woman is masculine," like, what? You don't see her breasts. You don't see her anything else. Oh, she's masculine though. That's weird to me. Like that whole fake. That's to put a woman down and keep her in her spot and don't say nothing. Like, I don't subscribe to that. No one's gonna tell me to be like to acquiesce to anything like that.
Like, okay, something is needed.
Sure. I think I share your sentiment that a lot of young men were lost. I mean, even I'm older than you, so I didn't have that same experience with the Red Pill. I had the experience with the movement that came before the Red Pill, which would have been like the pickup artist bodybuilding world. That was what I knew. But I think I share the sentiment with you that men felt lost. I think the reasons we might disagree, but I get where you're coming from, and I think I understand what you're talking about when you're talking about this video at that time.
That's not really taken seriously. For women, it's body image issues, and we care about that. Look, we have fat mannequins now. We didn't have that 5 years ago. We got fat mannequins. We don't want girls making themselves throw up and starving themselves, so we made plus-size models. The thing, when's the last time you saw a male plus-size model? Think of one. Don't Google, think of one.
When's the last time you saw
a dude learning how to mature as a man, throw phrases at you like your toxic masculinity, patriarchy, and you're like, isn't this just what you wanted? No one paid attention to me before, and now that I'm mature, I'm pressing you. Men kill themselves 5 times more than women. 80% of homicide victims are men. We will die trying to prove ourselves. It's weird and sad. Like, I'm in my 20s and I think about slapping people for respect on a daily basis. That's insecurity. I'm deeply afraid of somebody calling me a pussy. This is why white boys shoot up schools. It's why black boys join gangs. It's why Asian boys study extra hard all night. It just used to be more simple to become a man. You could work at a factory, come home from work. Honey, I'm home. Beat your wife and fall asleep. You're a man. That was life. Now it's a little more confusing. It's like when the porn ends and or like when your laptop goes off and you see, like the screen goes black and then you just see your reflection like in your dick in your head and you kind of look like an ape and your neck is here and like, Just don't
Again? You fell for it again? When will you learn?
You know, it's funny, Alba, at this time, I saw your channel was doing really well with reaction videos. I remember in this era, I'm like, bro, I would need to start making some more money. And my channel, I was only being able to post like 1 or 2 times a week because of the editing and scripting. I'm like, I want to produce more. So I was looking for a preach to my Alba. And so that guy here, Cass, was one, like, I even did some, like, not interviews, but like auditions. There was another guy from Brooklyn. His name is Ash, you know, because I thought it'd be I wanted like a different racial dynamic.
Yeah.
And I never was able to find one and get that.
Yeah,
that
it's
was,
not
that,
easy.
That was my way.
It's not easy. I mean, me and Preach have been working together for a decade. You know, people have no idea how difficult it is to find somebody with values that align with yours and to be able to work. So I can imagine it wasn't easy.
How did you meet Preach?
Through the dance community. So Preach was the guy who'd MC and he danced professionally for a long time. And then I also danced, but I also would do cinematography related work. So I was getting hired a lot for events for my business. And then we worked together on an event. I'd asked him to collab with me on a project because we'd spoken a bunch of times since he happened. And then the project went super good. So I just kept inviting him. And then eventually it became a partnership. So it's very, very organically done. I didn't even seek out somebody like that. In fact, Preach was just a feature in one of my first videos that went viral. I had a video that like hit 5-6 million views. And Preach is in that video, but it's a small cameo. And then we were just chopping it up afterwards, and it just kind of happened from there.
So he's kind of like the Cuffum to your Aiden.
Hey, bro, I don't know streaming shit enough to do it. You can't just drop these references like I know these. I know Aiden Ross like, hey, Jason, like I've seen videos, and I have no idea who Cuffum is. So I'm too old for that shit. But
how old are you?
35. 35, yeah. The reason why I want to play that video that we just watched is I think it's a good preamble because I think your next transfer goes into some of the red pill phase and self-improvement. And when you have that transition, this is actually a video you did before that, even though you'd already watched some forums. I feel like you didn't really necessarily call yourself.
Coming, right? Like,
yeah, you can see the preamble.
Right. Like it's clear, like watching back here, it's actually, this is well organized. You can see why that red pill era happened.
Yeah, there's a through line. You can see and I think one thing that's cool about the way you kind of documented your life is you were very open. And so my description, I wrote a sentence. It's Sneako is openly flawed, self-aware and arrogant, humble enough for curiosity, and daring enough to take chances. So that's my perception when I watched the first arc of your content creation from kid to about 2020 when you did the video before the red pill, How to Be a Man. You were aware of your own flaws. You may not always have the correct conclusion or whatever, but you could see the thought process. You could see how you got there. You could see your justification, your reasons why. You can see that you try to see things from other people's perspectives to a degree. And like it makes sense how you ended up in the red pill era afterwards. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So there's the question I would ask you first. What did the red pill give you that you didn't have before?
I think more. Well, I think men at the time, and in these videos you're showing, men on the internet especially were living in a liberal-dominated, woke-dominated, like men had to live in this kind of guilty, you know, white people say, are like, I'm one of the good ones, or like white boys will say, can a white boy catch a vibe? It was kind of that same thing with men. It was like, hey, I'm not one of those misogynist, horrible men, and gave men the opportunity to not live in a guilty place.
Right. In the era of like, you know, men are trash and there was all this stuff in regards to
exactly. I have a really good video called "Are Men Trash?" where I was asking. Yeah, that's a great. That one took so long to make. It was a great street interview.
Yeah,
about that specifically.
Yeah. When you went from how you were before and then you discovered the red pill content, really started assimilating a lot of it. It really started to incorporate into your worldview. How do you feel like you changed?
Well, one thing that I have been very public about is that I was always consuming red pill content, and I was just kind of afraid to talk about it on YouTube because of how liberal dominated it was. But I was reading the red pill subreddit. It was deleted now. All those subreddits like the Donald and all that stuff on Reddit that was informational all got taken down. I was on 4chan growing up, like 8th, 9th grade. I remember got suspended for looking at 4chan in library. So I was hyper aware of this stuff. I even read that book by Mystery.
Yeah, I know that. That's the big artist.
Yeah, pickup artist. He would talk about peacocking, where he would wear like big feathered hats to try to attack, like this goofy stuff. But I was hyper aware of red pill ideology my whole teenage years. But I just hadn't really. And it was just something I was interested in, but I didn't really adopt it.
Hold that thought 2 seconds. Hold that thought 2 seconds.
Yeah. Where's he going? Okay, there he goes. Hey, Albus chat. Aiden, how's it? What is he doing? Is he grabbing a costume?
I actually picked one of these up because I'm actually doing a project on the pickup artist community, and so I was actually looking for that fucking dumb hat that he normally wears, and this is the closest thing I could find.
That's it. Yeah.
It's even worse than this one. It was larger up here. It looked like a I don't know what it was, but I know exactly the kind of content you're talking about. So you're saying
the hat.
Yeah. It took me a hot minute to find it. All right, we're good. from your perspective, you feel like you didn't change. Okay, you answered that you were already consuming some of it and that it was already kind of. But how do you feel like? I feel like you had a quite drastic change as you watched more of the red pill stuff, and that you could see how you got there, but it definitely got amped up. So I'm asking you, what change did you see still?
It was COVID pandemic, because as soon as it happened, that was one of the reasons I got banned. Was I didn't get the COVID vaccine, and I was really against the lockdowns. I was so critical of how it didn't make sense. Everything was flagged and taken down at the time to put a COVID warning beneath everything. And as soon as COVID happened, I said they're going to use this in order to sell vaccines, and I didn't get it. And on the time, YouTube, you weren't supposed to say that. And so seeing that happen, seeing us lock us inside, and then everybody went outside to protest George Floyd, I'm like, this is a very obvious control mechanism. I started to get angry, and they call it red pill rage. Like once you really start waking up, I did get red pill rage post pandemic.
So you felt like most of the change that you experienced was in relation to COVID. It wasn't in relation to your feelings about the opposite sex, about dating, about the world. Like, at least when I saw you, yes, there was definitely an aspect where you're talking about some of the global stuff and some of the COVID-related things, but there's definitely a lot of it in relation to dating dynamics. You didn't feel like there was actual change there as you got into your red pill arc?
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to Patrice for years. He's my favorite. He's like your favorite comedian of all time, too, right?
Yeah, I actually did have Patrice on my notes here. Yeah,
Patrice O'Neal's the GOAT. And yeah, that's part of it. But like the real catalyst was the pandemic, was the lockdown. Like this was just, I had enough. And then everything that I was not talking about, I'm like, I'm going to go balls to the wall now. I wanted to fight back.
Got you. Did you feel like you had a disdain for some liberal principles or the way you felt liberals were operating at the time?
Yeah, because liberals operate you're liberal, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so liberals operate, and my chat was talking about this yesterday. I think liberals have proven more consistency, especially you see the way that the MAGA people and Trump have switched up about Epstein. It went from no new wars and let's release the Epstein files to if you want the Epstein files released, we don't want your support. And also war is good and Iran and Venezuela should be bombed more. But liberals operate from a place of, I think, sympathy, but they don't see it on a grand scale, right? So I think like one of the major issues that separates liberals and conservatives, it's really a lot of it's slop, but it's like transgenders, I think is a good example. Conservatives are like, okay, this is harmful because they have one of the highest suicide rates of any demographic. Liberals are like, trans people should be able to exist. They don't mean any harm. They're not hurting people. But what I believe is that, okay, I love everyone and I care about these people. What we should tell them is that this is a harmful ideology. Hormones and trying to change their existence is not the solution to their problem. Statistically, we know that like this is a delusion. So I think it's operating from a place of love. Liberals are thinking, okay, well, we should just allow them to exist and be happy. So I think it's addressing the problem, but it's not providing the correct solution to it.
Well, I think the way you're framing it, if you're going to make the example of liberals, the person who wants to be inclusive of trans people, then the conservatives, the ones like we have to tell you the truth. And that's one version of it. But the other version of it is like, the conservatives who say we don't accept you in our society because we feel like you're bad for us. And then there's the liberal who's like, listen, you're very different from me, but I still accept you in this community. And if you're very honest, if you go to countries that are very, very conservative, they're not actually open to a lot of people who are drastically different than them in their cultural norms. Conservatism, in the way that you describe it, isn't necessarily the way conservatism manifests in a lot of places. And also as an artist, you probably know this too, but like conservative areas are not exactly the most embracing of art. In fact, you and your own community, how often do you hear art is gay, right? How many times do you hear people just bemoan music and every other freedom of expression, but like you will make projects that they would consider really fucking gay. Is that a great form of conservatism? It's liberals who look at what you make. It's liberals who open up the museums and fund them, the ones that you go to. It's liberals who make the funding happen for the movies that you want to be able to do. In fact, pretty much most of the things that you think are most important to you in life are done by people who have a liberal mindset in terms of allowing that kind of expression and encouraging it.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And like a lot of my chat, they're spamming me now like arty farty, art is gay, art is gay. I love art. That is the reason I think I'm here. No, that's 100% true. Conservatives don't make really good art. Like that's 100%. You can't really name that many. There was one guy, he started painting and then look what he did to the world. So it's like, that's one example of, he wasn't accepted for his art and then he ended up, invading Poland. So
he ended up becoming very conservative. That's right.
Yeah, that is, you're 100% right. 100% right. Art is at the forefront and there's contradictions and art really in conservatism don't overlap. And the overlap as well is that conservatives in America will be like, okay, we can't be tolerant of these things. We can't be tolerant of transgenderism. But at the same time, America does pride itself on democracy, on freedom. Like what is it to be in the West, to be an American? It's freedom. You're allowing ideology. So if you allow freedom, then you also allow people to do pride parades.
Yeah.
Then you also allow this to happen. So they say America's a Christian nation, but also we need freedom. They say Islam is not compatible in the West. But then, so how is Christianity coexist with freedom? Because Christianity has almost the same restrictions as Islam. So 100%,
I'm not saying what is the right answer. If you just ask me the kind of society where I feel most free living in, it's going to be a liberal one. I say this all the time. I love Ethiopia. The reason why I wouldn't live there is that me doing the kind of work that I do, I don't think I'd ever be safe. That's just a reality. It's a reality in a lot of traditionally conservative places. Like, you're allowed to say things to a certain extreme, and then beyond that, like, they will use the governmental powers to come after you. And that is very normal. If you want places that you have the most amount of freedom to say what you will against the powers that be, it's going to be in liberal societies who really value the ideas of freedom and independence in that regard. So, I understand in a lot of circles, people love to be like the trans issue. Like, trans issue is so minor. Like, I've gotten such fatigue on the trans issue because I'm like, bro, we already won on that topic. They lost the whole sports angle. They lost a lot of this stuff. I feel like it's almost pointless now to even mention it, because it's like on every front. The bathroom stuff, they didn't get that. They didn't get the sports. They didn't get the 99% of the issues that they. So like, when people bring up trans stuff to me, I'm like, that was like 2018, 2019 when it was relevant. You feel like it's still relevant today?
Well, it's relevant because people like Matt Walsh are talking about transgenderism instead of the Epstein list. It's like, I think this is used as a populist idea. Like Mamdani, I think he won the liberals over by jumping up and down at the pride parades and pretending he cares about trans people. Like, it's smart in order to gain support. But like, overall, it is such a minor issue. And same thing, conservatives do the same thing. Like, Michael Knowles will have Clavicular on and be like, what about these transgenders? And it's like, dude, this is not cool. Like, nobody thinks this is important to discuss anymore. It doesn't, garner the same reaction as it once did. It is minor, and we have 100% focused on it too much in previous years. It's time to move on.
Yeah. I'm going to just folks said that you were a little bit too quiet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just add some gain to this, because I don't think it's picking up that well. So just let me do that real fast for the desktop audio. Hopefully it works. So give me a second, chat. I'll make the adjustment. I think I have advanced audio properties. I can add some gain in. Let's see. I'll put like 4 dBs. All right. Let's see if that works. Desktop audio. Can you try talking again for a second?
Test talk. And chat, I'm going to release the main channel video tomorrow at 3 p.m. Not today. I think it's already too late. I want to post it at 3. So it's just a song released tomorrow on the main channel.
Okay. We're gonna keep going from here. I think that should be fine. So next part I want to do, just in terms of questions I want to ask. Oh, yes. So I'm asking this, again, this is not a gotcha. I already know what's coming. It's the cock swinger thing. Yeah. Because I think I remember during my research phase that there was some aspect of it where you felt like liberalism a liberal mindset might have pushed you to do that. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, New York, it was. I wanted to. I've talked about this so many times. I was very degenerate back in my early 20s and teens. I wanted to have a bunch of threesomes. That was something that I was like. To be honest, I was kind of addicted. I loved having threesomes with women, and then it was making like my girlfriends upset. And so she's like, "Okay, what if we do a couple swap?" And then did that, hated it, and just stopped. Yeah.
And
but realizing that that didn't really. It wasn't a huge deal. And I joked about it on that podcast with Agent and Low, because I thought it was funny, because I'm talking about something that was funny because it was like I how much I hated it. But you've seen, like, to this day and stuff, people will bring that up for an attack vector. But it's like, I'm just an honest person. I'm not able to. I didn't need to tell that story. Obviously, it's going to be harmful to my reputation and stuff. But I talked about it because it was real. It happened, and like maybe somebody can learn from that. Especially, I was listening to Patrice a lot. Patrice was like red pilled, and he was talking about that the couple swaps and everything. But yeah, don't do that, and wait till marriage.
Yeah.
But I got over that too. Like, I used to be kind of a sex addict, where I was like, who was addicted to threesomes? That's something that's and again, like, people talk about that when liberalism, degeneracy is allowed, and you're sleeping around a lot, then you're going to be doing threesomes, and then you end up swapping with the couple, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, I hate this. And so that was kind of a wake up call. Like, let me stop wasting time on this and focus on what's important.
So how do you feel like liberalism plays into that? How do you feel like liberalism leads you to
because
the point where
tolerated, like that, because everything's allowed, and in a society where that's frowned upon, I wouldn't have felt like that was a normal thing to do.
Well, okay. So here's an example. Have you, would you say that the Middle East is mostly conservative?
Yeah. So besides Tel Aviv, they say that Israel or Tel Aviv is the gayest city in the world. Times of Israel.
Fair, but one might go to Dubai and poop on a girl, right? It's very frowned upon, but the people who have wealth and who have the ability to have the privacy engage in the debauchery that they want to. Okay. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is I think the only difference between the conservative and the liberal side is, yes, there may be a frowned upon nature to it. But a lot of the debauchery that you're describing happens, just doesn't happen in the open. And the big difference.
That is a major difference. Like, a pride parade is a public display. Like, look at what we're celebrating. That's stuff that happens between, people on boats and stuff and Instagram models. This is a small subsect, is not representative of the Middle East. And it's also stuff that, like, if that was publicized, people would definitely stop it. It's only known because Instagram models fly and do that. That's completely different than a pride parade in Tel Aviv. With Times of Israel, it says they're the gayest city in the world.
I just think you're underestimating maybe a little bit how often or how much, undercover sex or sex parties.
That's the point. Undercover compared to public display on the streets.
But
that's my point.
I guess in my head, I'm like, as someone who wants to seek truth through funny, why do you prefer the principles of society that has debauchery, maybe not to the same level, maybe a bit less, but just does it in hiding versus one that's just open about it? Like, why do you feel
because doing it in hiding is acknowledging that it's wrong and that's not something that you should do, but also acknowledging that humans are imperfect and we all have the propensity to sin and we will sin. That's what everything is a test here. We know that we are imperfect and that we're, some people are going to drink, some people are going to smoke. So like, we shouldn't do it, but doing it in hiding proves and is admittance of shame, where public pride parades that is accepting and encouraging and celebrating it. There's 100% a difference. Like, sin should be, if you're going to sin, keep it in private and don't try to encourage more people to do it.
Well, when I think of pride parade personally, it's just like, if this is something you identify with and you want to celebrate that. Like, my idea of an ideal society is not one where we like, yo, hey, you're not gay, I'm going to try to encourage you to be gay. Mine is just like, if you're gay, then do your thing. I don't really care how you manifest it. In the same way, if you're Puerto Rican or if you're Haitian, you want to manifest your identity, your nationality, your sexuality, I just don't care.
Right. But those are different. We shouldn't celebrate things that aren't productive, right? We should celebrate, like, why is there even a parade? Like, they didn't accomplish anything. Why are we celebrating losers? So, like, I'm not calling all gay people losers, but I'm saying they didn't do it. Like, you're celebrating people that are just being degenerate. This is not something that's worthy of a trophy. It's like, you're gay, so congrats. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so
we should celebrate achievement.
When we celebrate for a variety of reasons. So maybe we're celebrating the progress we've made. You have to remember, being openly gay and not being fucking beaten in the streets where it's legal was a thing. And I think it's a great thing that we live in a society not only where now it's legalized and people can be open and be themselves, but beyond that, we're going from not just tolerance and we're going to a certain level of acceptance. And I think that's an awesome thing, where I have someone next to me and I genuinely don't tolerate them, I accept them. I don't care if they're gay. And I think what parades do, not in a huge way, but in incremental fashion, is it's just a celebration with people who may be different than you or maybe the same, and you're open, and the society will set up police structures to make sure it's safe. There will be people funding it, working together to celebrate this. And it's not to say, oh, gayness is the best or whatever. It's just be out here.
Yeah, it's going far. I mean, like I see on Fifth Avenue, I live in New York City. It's like they have dick balloons everywhere. You got people dressed up in like dog outfits crawling on all fours. You got people like they're doing it like in front of children. This is a public display on Fifth, like in the middle of the city. Right? Kids shouldn't see that stuff, like people dressing like adults half naked. And also, I don't think it's progress, because if we acknowledge what being gay is, being gay relationships are the absence of progression because they can't have children. So it's celebrating sex that is just used for degenerate reasons and not for progression of society. Also, these people trans have some of the highest suicide rates of any demographic in the world. So this is the opposite. You're celebrating what I think is destructive, especially if you acknowledge that this thing is harmful, that a lot of these people are depressed, that they need meds in order to operate, they need to get surgeries in order to exist. We should celebrate humans that don't need exterior factors to feel comfortable and feel happy.
Well, when I think of pride and whatever's involved with that, when I think of celebrating, if you celebrate like achievement or what's the best, I think it's also just to celebrate things that we're a society that, you may not be the ideal citizen in most people's heads or whatever the fuck it is, but we're inclusive and we embrace you and we're happy to have you. And I think that's an okay thing to have. But
I don't know if it's worth celebrating. Like, there's other people who are excluded from society, like weirdos, autists, school shooters, like freaks and stuff. Like, do they get a celebration? My point is, we should celebrate achievement. Two men sleeping together is not an achievement.
Do you think
a couple swap is not an achievement? Being a cuck is not an achievement. It's just something that, but it's not like woo. Like, I just want to live in a place where like real success is celebrated.
Do you think it's an achievement to have a society that's embracing the people who are very drastically different and tries to provide safety for all of them, despite the differences that they may have politically or socially?
No, I don't think that's worth of celebration. Like, I can understand living in a tolerant place, but I don't think that that's worthy of a crowd applauding.
You don't think tolerance and acceptance of different people is worth celebrating? No. But isn't that one of the very things that you love about America? It's the freedom of a religion, the idea that people from different nationalities, different backgrounds come together to make this booming economy and booming society that has so many differences, but at least coalesce underneath this one label that kind of guides you guys and you guys feel safe. Like, isn't that an amazing thing that you guys have these people who grew up in maybe war-torn spots or places where they weren't safe and persecuted, and they come to a place where it doesn't matter what they look like or where the fuck it is, they're going to take you in, Muslim, whatever it is.
Yeah, but once those people, like if you're an immigrant and you come into this country or something, and you make something, you do something, and you make the world a better place, then the public should acknowledge that and be like, that you used tolerance or you used immigration, you used the American dream to create something amazing. Then people should acknowledge it and it inspires others to do the same. Celebration is only useful if it inspires, right? So if you're using this, and like say you create a great piece of art. For example, Hitler, he created paintings that weren't accepted. It wasn't celebrated. He got angry, right? If he made really great art and the public celebrated it, maybe he wouldn't have taken over the world or tried to. So I think that
I disagree that's the purpose. Sometimes you celebrate the fact that you have a freedom that didn't always exist. And that's what we're celebrating. We shouldn't take our current state for granted, because there was a time when people didn't have these abilities. Like, even when we have things like Remembrance Day, it's like it's a memorial, but it's also like an honoring of the past and the fact that people died for the very freedoms that we have, and we're paying homage to that, and we're celebrating and we're showing out for this. We're saying, hey, we want to be out here and open because our forebears and people who came before us died and never had this chance. And I think we shouldn't take for granted how much privilege we have living in these open societies. So, but I hear your perspective in regards to why you think shame might be good in some circumstances. I just also, I mean, who needs an excuse to party? But you know what I'm saying? That's me. I like stuff like that. I don't want to stay on this point too long. This actually wasn't the point of this whole section, but we can come back to this later. I want to kind of transition because you ended up moving on from the red pill and finding your place in Islam.
Which, yeah, I remember you thought that was a grift for a while, but I think that now people see, you know, there's no benefit. I was talking about that before you came on. It's like, for 2 days ago on stream, I ordered baby back ribs and I didn't know that they were pork. I spit it out and that gets like fucking 7 million views. They're like, he's a grifter. It's like, you really break it down. Why would I grift Islam? Like, what are the benefits of pretending to believe in God?
Okay.
I don't see what this
so let me challenge you on that.
Yeah.
So why do you think Andrew Tate did it?
Yeah, I don't want to speak on his faith and everything. I want to hope that he's doing it for the right reasons. You know, if he's still a Muslim like he says, and I hope he is, and I think he is, then I hope it was genuine, and I wish the best of success to him.
Do you believe it's genuine when you see his behavior?
I think that there is some genuine aspect to it. I think at some point, but I think he's straight off the deen, and what we could do as Muslims is try to guide him in the right direction. You know, trying to overly, nitpick and everything. Like I criticized him when he took the gambling deal because that goes against the whole escape the matrix. He was criticizing gambling for years. He said like how it's the slave mind, and then he starts promoting it. He's called everyone broke. And then if you're so rich and a billionaire, why would you take a gambling deal? So that stuff I'll point out for sure that's inconsistent. But if I'm going to go on here and say, oh, Tate's grifting this for Dubai connections or UAE and stuff like that, that's just going to create a more bitter taste. And we know how influential he is. Well, it's going to be bad for the Ummah, and it's going to be bad for his own personal deen. Well, so any differences that I have with him aside, I want the best for him as a Muslim.
Okay, so I want you to steel man. So this is actually a question that a viewer had. And they said, if you had to steel man the reason why people believe that some folks grift to Islam, what would be the steel man that you could offer? So if you had to be them and they're saying, okay, like, what do you think are some actual valid reasons from your perspective?
I don't see any.
None.
I don't, because no, especially as a content creator from my position, I don't, it's an American content creator. I stream on YouTube and Kick. There's literally no monetary benefits. No. And even fame-wise, audience benefits, no. There's so much propaganda in America against Muslims. You grew up with that, right? Or you grew up in Canada, but still, Canada felt the same thing post 9/11 hysteria. There's literally no benefit to it.
I distinctly remember in 2022, everybody in the red pill would just be like, man, Christians are so weak. Christians are whack, bro. They just let themselves be laughed at. What jokesters? But Muslims are different. Muslims don't play about their religion. They serious about their shit. It was almost like this veneer of masculinity offered because there was a sense of authority to Islam. Now, that's my claim. Do you agree that that was a thing at that time?
Yeah.
So when you asked me, why would anyone want to do that? Well, there's a few different reasons. I felt as though there was quite a lot of overlap between some of the red pill talking points and a lot of the Islamic ones that people would want to reference. And then there was this air of like, I'm a red pill dual, I'm Muslim. And like red pills all the time would talk about, I want multiple wives. And then when they use justifications, why? Islam does it. That's what they say. It's normalized. In fact, that's probably one of the main reasons I would hear that being brought up in red pill discussions, because red pillers would not stop talking about having multiple wives. And who does that more than Muslims? So there's definitely a reason to say that you're a Muslim or there was a benefit to it. It added an air of legitimacy and authority to the red pill, which didn't have that, in my opinion.
Okay. But most Muslims disagree with that sentiment and say like 80% of Muslims don't even have multiple wives. This is super small. And if you speak to Muslims around the world, when they focus on the 4 wives thing, they realize just how belittling that is to what's in the Quran or what Islamic faith is about. It's like such a small aspect, and it's such a minor part of the Quran that, fixating that as a talking point is unnecessary, and categorizes Islam as like, it's just not.
I agree.
Not beneficial for dawah.
I 100% agree, but I don't think the red pillars who were talking about Islam all the time were being genuine, and I don't think they were representing Islam in a good way. But they would constantly reference it all the time. And look, we don't have to name anybody's name, but like there are people in the community who will talk about having multiple wives. They don't really talk about religion ever, except if it's to talk about the having 9 wives or whatever the fuck it is. So do I think Islam is about that? No, but there's no doubt that the veneer or the appearance of it was definitely something they used.
Yeah, I think Tate just tweeted about that again, about something about 4 wives literally like yesterday.
Right. And I distinctly remember reading so many tweets. And the reason why that shit would annoy me is that even though I'm not religious myself, there's an appreciation I had for people who were genuinely of faith. And it felt like whenever I hear red pillars mention Islam, it was always in this very shallow way so they can fuck a bunch of women. So Islam might not be about that, but that's what Red Pillars made it about. And that's why a lot of dudes said they wanted to convert so they can get the 9 wives and live their debaucherous life in a way that's holy and righteous. That's what it felt.
I think that's since been, that's a valid point. But since then, I think that's been pushed back so much. That's been debunked.
Fair.
So many Muslims disagree with that. I don't think that there's support for that or anybody accepts that.
Yep. I would agree that I think now that whole talking point is gone. We don't hear people talk about Christianity the same way they were back then. But you had this transition, and I talked to you about this in private, but you told me, and I've seen you talk about this in public before, that your transition towards Islam, where people are saying it's not genuine, actually came from something that happened much earlier too, in relation to, I believe it's Malcolm X.
Yeah.
Right. So my first question is, how did Malcolm X play a role in your faith journey?
So maybe, I don't know if you have this tweet up in your doc, but I want to pull this up. This is from, I think, 2013. I tweeted this. I'll just explain the story now. I read the Malcolm X autobiography when I was about 11 or 12 years old, maybe 10. My dad gave me that book, and I love the cover of it. The cover looks really dope. And Malcolm X was a pimp. Malcolm X was a criminal. He was a drug dealer. His name was
Red, right?
Yeah, Detroit Red.
Yeah.
And yeah, because he had red hair. He was also mixed too, so I related to that a bit. Like he grew up with red hair, so he was already. But his father was a black nationalist and was speaking up against the KKK, and I think he was murdered by the KKK's father. And they burned some of his house down when he was a little kid. So he grew up with a lot of hatred towards white people in his heart, and you can understand why. Like his story is just like you completely get why he had that anger. But he reverted to Islam. Well, the Nation of Islam in jail, and when he was in jail, he became educated and he started dressing differently. He started speaking differently. He upgraded him. He ascended. And no longer was he like this pimp and, dyeing his hair, or not dyeing his hair because I have blonde hair, but he was straightening his hair to try to make it seem like it was, try to fit in with white people. He grew up the way it naturally was. He read the dictionary. He became like Heisen out right now. And he became somebody that was really well-respected, well-spoken, and a great speaker. Then there's the final journey of his arc, like, because the Nation of Islam is somewhat cultish. I don't want to disrespect them, but they do somewhat worship Elijah Muhammad, who they say is a false prophet. In Islam, we don't believe in Elijah Muhammad. This is has nothing to do with Islam. Right. He went to Mecca, and during that, he went to Hajj. And during Hajj, he was standing side by side and praying, because as Muslims, we stand shoulder to shoulder with people when we pray. And he would share food afterwards, after the prayer. They're, he's sitting down, they're eating, and he's eating next to white people. And you realize there, standing side by side, that we're all brothers. That it's not based off skin color. God judges us based off of our works and what we do and how we are within our heart. And he wrote a letter. It's called Letter from Mecca. He wrote a letter to the Nation of Islam, and he said he realized that the whole racial superiority thing that was gone. He realized in Mecca what peace really was. He realized what we're supposed to do. And he denounced the Nation of Islam, and soon later he was assassinated. So I really loved that book, loved seeing his life story, the way he wrote, and also that transformation. Okay. And I tweeted, I really want to bring this up because it does annoy me. Someone can link it in the chat. It does annoy me when people say like, "Oh, Sneako's grifting Islam." It's like
you've been talking about this for a long time. Well, prior to this is what you're saying.
Yeah, the tweet I have. Yeah, the tweet is from 2013. Somebody please link it in the chat for me.
Okay.
I tweeted, after reading the Malcolm X autobiography, I seriously considered converting to Islam. I think I was like 13 or 14 when I tweeted that, and I was 11 or 12 when I read the book. So it's something that I've been seriously considering my whole life. I grew up Catholic, but I never resonated with the idea. And shout out to the Catholics, Lent's coming up, but the Trinity is not in the Bible. And Catholicism, they said, I went to Catholic school. I was almost confirmed with catechism, all this stuff. I don't believe that we should be praying to Mary. I don't believe in praying to saints. I don't believe in praying to a man. I always saw Jesus as a prophet. When I prayed as a kid, as a Catholic, I would pray to God. I wouldn't pray to the Holy Spirit. And so when I learned what Islam was, I'm like, wait, this is what I am. This is what I've always done. I've always prayed to God. I didn't pray to St. Anthony. I was praying to God alone. So it just made sense. It's just something that aligned with something that I've always believed in.
What?
Yeah, I'll share the tweet right here if you can see on the screen.
Ooh, wait 1 second. Let me stop streaming so I think I might mess it up for you. 2 seconds. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so it says this is April 2nd, 2015. God admit, after doing extended research on Malcolm X, I seriously considered converting to Islam. This is 11 years ago. I tweeted this. 11 years ago.
Okay.
There's the same Twitter account. Yeah, so like this is definitely. I think this should disprove people saying the grift stuff or whatever.
All right, hold on. I gotta stream something else. It's gonna fuck it up. Man, I'm not good with this OBS shit. So.
And people I know, Christians are upset and saying Jesus is king. I have all respect for Christians, man. I really think that it's proper guidance and everything. It's just not something that they can believe in. There's no reference to the Trinity in the Bible, and people are saying, "Oh, you pray to Muhammad." No, we don't. Muhammad is the prophet. Jesus is the Messiah. There's so many overlaps between Christianity and Islam. We also believe that Jesus will return and Jesus is the Messiah. That Jesus is a prophet, and I think a lot of people don't realize that. We don't pray to Muhammad, peace be upon him. We pray to God and God alone. The biggest sin is praying to others than God. La ilaha illallah. There's only one worthy of worship.
What do you feel like your faith and you converting to Islam has given you?
it gave me so I said earlier, I knew this was going to go here. Like, what were you looking for when I was making those videos when I was a kid? I was looking for truth, and I found it. I found what the truth is, that there's one God, that people are always going to worship something. And if it's not God, it's going to be false idols, celebrities themselves. It's going to be their own ego. They're going to worship money. They'll worship fame. They'll worship, Nicki Minaj or Trump. So we got to realize that we have to put our worship somewhere. And the best place of worship to put is for the one almighty creator. And I found that truth. And now I know what I'm supposed to do. I no longer fear death. I know that this life is temporary. I know that this life is a test. And I know what my exact mission is and what I'm supposed to do.
What do you feel like your faith change has cost you?
It's cost me, well, I mean, if you're going to say, like, the gambling deal was offered 8 figures to gamble. I mean, I'm not going to gamble. I don't think I ever really would have, to be honest with you. I think it's cost me, probably some audience members. You see, like, whenever I talk about that, like, even right now, you see the reaction. Christians get upset and, they try to disprove it. You get heavy criticism. People hold you to a different standard. It's funny that the same time, like the same day where, I accidentally take a bite of pork and spit it out, that gets international, like that's like literally everywhere, millions of views. That's the same day that Elijah Schaefer and Sarah Stock, these are both conservative Christian creators. I know both and I like them both. Apparently, Elijah was Sarah's boss and he sleeps with her. They're both married and they're cheating in their relationship and it was exposed. You can see different standards being placed. Christians will be like, okay, they're imperfect, they're sinning, and I agree. But if I accidentally pour, the scrutiny that you get for being Muslim is amplified times 1,000 compared to other relations. When you're public about it, there's so much more division, anger. There's more of a target. Not only that, you get it from the Zionist agenda that has done so much to call Muslims terrorists and to try to say that the radical Islamists are taking over America. You're like, what are you talking about? Trump brought Netanyahu 5 times this term here. Trump had Mark Levin put his arm around Trump and said, Trump's the first Jewish president. And Trump goes, it's true. It's true. It's like, so how are Muslims taking over America when just look what's in your face? Muslims make up, 3% of the American population? And they say Muslims are taking over because they're praying in Times Square. It's like, what? This is like an Eid prayer. Times Square is a place where drug deals and Cookie Monster and gorillas hang out, and Mexican Elmo is taking pictures of money. It's like, okay, this prayer took 15 minutes. This is really a huge deal. So
yeah, but we just not gonna let you celebrate in our square, bro. Like, y'all just praying. Y'all can do that at home. You don't gotta do that over here.
I don't consider that a celebration. Prayer is different.
Well, it's worship. You can worship at home, bro.
You could, but there's a difference between pride, which is one of the seven deadly. You shouldn't even take pride in this stuff. Praying is a gathering. And obviously, there's so many people you can't fit in a mosque. You can't fit in home.
They can do it in the parking lot. You gotta do that in our space. We don't want to. No pride parades. No Puerto Rican parades. No public displays of like everybody praying together. We want none of that. None of those freedoms. That's a wrap. Well, if you're not winning, if you're not achieving something, I don't want to see you in the streets out here gathering in big numbers. It's either that.
There's a difference between. I said celebration, right? For Puerto Rican parades, Dominican parades, all this stuff. Chinese, they celebrate. They have this all the time. So if there's like a 15-minute prayer, this should also be allowed in the site.
I'm just fucking with you.
Yeah, I guess you're.
All right. People often question your religious change. What is something that you do as labor that people don't necessarily see, but that you feel like is part of your religious journey or your bond? And that's something that's more regular.
Repeat. I don't understand the question.
So, faith and the journey of faith is normally something that involves labor. Now, labor could be a lot of different things. It's reoccurring commitment and action that you will take. So, what is a form of that you do from a religious standpoint that people don't necessarily see online?
I mean, Jumu'ah prayer, Isha prayer, Fajr. I mean, right now, to be perfect, I'm not perfect. I have been missing a lot of prayers. I'm streaming so much. Maybe I should take a break during stream to pray. But I mean, zakat is something that doesn't happen on Zoom. That's the charity. You're supposed to give 2.5% of your earnings every year to charity. All this stuff is not public. Going to the masjid every Friday. There's not,
so mosque, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So these are things that not necessarily happen on camera or people don't necessarily are aware about, but these are things that you do that feel like they ground you and it's part of the process you need.
Yeah, but I wouldn't call it labor. It's
it could be duty. It could be a duty, responsibility, whatever. Labor is just the idea of working towards something. It's something that you have to do.
Yeah, I don't see it as work because it's what is the best for you. Like before IRL streams in Miami, I always play Ayatul Kursi, which is the protection prayer. It's supposed to protect you because I'm around a lot of demonic activity. Get the evil eye on me all the time. A lot of people trying to destroy me or even put threats on my life and try to kill me. So it's like that protection does keep you steadfast and helps me. It's reassuring.
Got you. Okay. If you had to describe Malcolm X politically or spiritually, how would you do that?
As somebody who
what do you stand for?
Growth. I think he's the physical representation of growth and of, he grew up in extremely difficult circumstances and he became the best he could be.
And how would you describe him politically? How would you describe him politically?
So most of his time politically, a lot of white supremacists actually did like him because he was also advocating for segregation. Perhaps that's why he was assassinated, because eventually he was like preaching for unity towards the end, right after Mecca. But beforehand, he wanted segregation. White supremacists were like, oh yeah, us too. Malcolm X was saying that black people need to work for each other, that we need to get rid of this mindset that's holding us back. He was trying to uplift and trying to adopt the same ideology that white people had for black people specifically. So politically, it does kind of range. Some people say that he was a socialist. I know Malcolm X definitely leaned towards democratic socialism and communism. Malcolm X, he was very critical of Zionism as well. But I would say he didn't really tap into, from my understanding, his books and his speeches, it was mostly about how black people should work together.
Well, post Nation of Islam, there was a lot of discussion from him about human rights. It shifted from black rights to human rights specifically. And he believed in the potential to work with folks. He didn't believe in the idea that whites were necessarily evil, that, there's good in all groups of people. And that was part of his faith journey. Even when you say like white supremacists kind of like that, I don't think that's a very accurate retelling. He wanted a space that was safe for black folks. The idea of white supremacists wasn't one in which black people had freedom and safety or segregation, and that they were separated, so that they were treated as second-class citizens, and their privileged position in society was maintained. So I kind of reject that idea that what you described at the end there in terms of him. I do agree that there was some aspect of separation, but segregation, especially in that time, there's no way that they were aligned in that regard. Do you think they were?
I thought there were definitely differences, but what they agreed upon is some aspects of segregation. Obviously, the white supremacists were probably saying, right, second-class citizens, but Malcolm X was also advocating for segregation. Not the same way, but there was an overlap. He wanted the best. He wanted black people to work for themselves. And so many white supremacists were like, oh, this guy wants them to be by themselves? Okay, cool. Let's embrace him.
Okay. If Malcolm X existed today, what do you think he would think of you?
That's a good question. I think he would disagree with my alignment with some people. I think he would be critical about the overlap that I have with political figures. And I think he would, well, it depends on which Malcolm X, to be honest with you. Like,
we'll talk about post Nation of Islam, because I think that's the most evolved or the most learned person. So
Mecca, Malcolm.
Yeah, post Nation of Islam, so after Mecca, yeah.
I think he would disagree with Nick Fuentes a lot. And he would try to guide people, or try to lead. I think he would, be very politically active. I think he'd be very critical of Israel. He was like really, he was spot on about Israel back then. And, the manipulation going on in New York City specifically, he's done a lot of speeches about that. I think he would he spent a lot of time talking about Netanyahu, criticizing Trump for that. And I think he'd be very critical of the conservative movement. And what he would think of me is like that, he'd definitely point out some of the allies I keep and say that that's imperfect.
Well, let's entertain a hypothetical where you guys do have that conversation. What does that make you think or feel, knowing that?
Yeah, I would explain to him that there's a lot of benefits, and like my strategy is maybe it won't align perfectly with what he believes in, but it's an effective strategy. And, it's hard to contextualize because the propaganda against Muslims was not the same as it was today. We live in post 9/11 world. Obviously, that's died down a lot, but people have a stigma towards Muslims that they didn't have back then. So I think it's very valuable to have friends and allies that may not agree with you completely, because it shows that we can exist in the liberal democracy that's also the Christian nation of America without being terrorist, horrible people that they try so hard to claim we are.
I think this transitions nicely into the next part. You've talked about many issues, and you've asked oftentimes why people don't use their voice to speak on certain issues. For example, when it came to Haiti, there's a clip I saw where you wondered why people who were Haitian or part Haitian, like Kai Cenat or your age, didn't speak on Haiti specifically. Do you believe content creators have influence, and what responsibility do you think they have with that influence?
Of course, content creators are more influential than politicians now. We have the minds. They realize
Hey, listen, guys, I'm about to go to bed. I'm gonna come back tomorrow. We're gonna play this again. We're gonna review it and maybe bring everybody up, talk about it. But this is a great show so far. Thank you for all your views. For sticking with me. I am exhausted. So good night, guys. Peace.
Just when I thought I couldn't find my way out, yeah, I searched the God in me to find my way out. I know it can seem way out, but the Creator flows to and through me from way out. I'm talking way out, yeah. See if you believe in the God in you, it's a better place.